what we heard in our almost 400 interviews, we ended up sort of gleaning from these four principles: what guides relationship-rich education, what shapes, what defines relationship-rich education, sort of regardless of higher ed context. And these are our 4 points, and we thought we might, I'll briefly introduce them here, and then they'll disappear, and we'll talk about them as we go through the next 45 minutes or so together. And you can see what they are, but the key, just very briefly, these 4 things are, there's a sense of welcome and care that's essential in these relationships. And actually, I think in the story Leo, the story I told, the story Cease told, in some ways, all are about that kind of what one of the people we interviewed called relentless welcome that all our students need all the time. Second point, second principle is that relationships really inspire student learning. They drive motivation. And we have story after story of students who talk about boring classes that they thought that were going to be boring and then turned out to be really pivotal because of a relationship with a peer, with a faculty member, and other sorts of things that really, sometimes I have found, we think in higher education that relationships are a soft approach to students, and we might equate this with kindergarten. And in fact, the opposite is true. Leo and I heard over and over from students how they work hard for people who they feel know them and care about them. So relationships drive motivation. A third thing is that ideally, every student will have lots of relationships, one or more, let's say, and that because these relationships can serve different purposes in students' educations and in students' lives. And so they might have a close relationship with a professor who helps them understand the discipline, maybe helps them understand research or practice or professional opportunities in a discipline. But they might have a colleague in student life or a peer in a residence hall who's really important in helping them find themselves on the campus and feel like they belong, even if they feel out of place in different ways. And so what students need and what we need to help them do is develop these webs or these constellations of significant relationships when they're in college. And then our fourth point, and this one seems particularly resonant right now in the time of the pandemic, is that we need to have, these relationships are so important because they help students think deeply, think critically about questions of purpose and meaning. Why am I in college? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I on this planet? How can I contribute to my family, to my community, to the future? And what's it mean to be a student in such uncertain times? Those are the kinds of things that students can wrestle with on their own, but we know they will dive more deeply, think more critically, think more empathetically about themselves and the world if they do that kind of thinking in relation with others. So those are our 4 principles.